You're listening to One Family, What's God Doing? Where we explore what God's doing in YWAM locations throughout Virginia. We can't wait for you to find out what God's doing today.
Welcome back to What's God Doing, and I'm excited because we have a new face sharing with us today. It is Rebeca from Virginia Beach. So, Rebeca, thanks for joining, and I want to know, what's God doing in Virginia Beach?
Hey, Paul, thank you for inviting me. So many things it's happening here. We are having DTS now, but something that I have seen, it's like Virginia Beach, like YWAM Virginia Beach. It's like, it's where we are receiving so many internationals, like, and people just want to come and serve the Lord. Like, they really feel called to, like, serve in United States and reach out people and preach the gospel. So I think, like, whatever God has for this place, I think we're gonna have a lot of people from a lot, like, different countries. So yeah, I think this is really amazing, like, mix of cultures, like, yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine there's a lot of people listening who maybe have never been in a culture different than their own.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're talking about is, one, people coming from other cultures into American culture, and two, people who are from American culture that are now encountering different cultures. So what is that like, and how do people navigate when they're in a culture that's different than their own?
So first, I'm not American citizen. I'm from Brazil. So I think I can really talk about it. Like, what is, like, wow, this is a really, like, it's a culture shock when you come from another country here. And I think, like, for those that are American that, like, are part of, like, a base like YWAM Virginia Beach, I think it's a culture shock too, because it's like, for example, now we have, like, people from Germany, we have, like, me from Brazil, we have people from Colombia, we have a lot of Americans. So it's like, it's amazing because everyone has the heart for, like, the kingdom culture. So it's just like you need to be open to kind of navigate everything. And but it's not easy. Like, sometimes it's just like you need always to be humble and willing. And yeah, but it's amazing. Like, and sometimes you just think, oh, can you imagine, like, in the heaven that everyone would be there, everyone would be speaking, like, the same language, and everyone would be, like, the same. You're not gonna have this, like, culture shock or anything. But it's just like, I think it's more, like I say, like, you need to be humble. But there is a lot of different things. Like, for example, when you come here to do missions in American, you need to be really careful not to kind of get in the comfort zone. I think this is the biggest challenge, like, because when you go to, like, Africa, you are challenged every day, like, about places that you live. But here, like, I can tell that we have kind of a comfort, but you need to be really careful not to get, like, in the comfort zone. Or yeah. And for me, like, when I came here, and it's still going on, like, the biggest challenge is, like, this spiritual warfare. Like, I think we don't face, like, too many challenges, like, in the day by day about housing and water situation or food, but we always face, like, the spirit, like, I think it's more heavy.
Yeah. Well, I love that idea you shared about even if people have different cultures, there is this shared culture in Christ that if we're humble and willing, we could discover that, and we get to fully experience it in heaven. But here on earth, we can experience that shared culture now. But somebody could be listening and thinking, whoa, like, it sounds like culture shock is hard. I don't know if I want to experience something hard. Why should somebody be willing to embrace culture shock, to step into different cultures, even if it is difficult?
First, you need to have a word from the Lord, like, you don't go to a place to just like to do it. I'm saying like in a missions worldview.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to a place if God's not calling you to go. And if you're going or obeying what God has for you. So you just need like to be really intentional, like, and yeah, God is calling me to do this. So I'm just gonna, like I say, be humble and first respect the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like here, you respect the American culture. Of course, because it's their country, they have, like, Americans have the kind of the power, not the power, but it's like it's their home country, you know, like you cannot respect the rules that the country have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like you need to obey God, and when you're willing to obey what God has for you, it's just, you know, like you can face and be willing to just embrace and step in the culture shock. And at some point you're just gonna, okay, this is, and at some point also you're like, oh, now I'm looking more like my culture is more American than like my home culture, you know, like.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing we forget often, is if God is calling us into something, he probably knows something that we don't. So we might just see the hardship ahead of, oh, this culture is different and the way they do this is different. But God's like, yeah, that I see that. But if you get through that, there's something beautiful. And now, you know, YWAM Virginia, like you mentioned, so many different cultures are coming together. And so people are learning from each other in unique ways, experiencing different things. And that can create something really beautiful. Mm-hmm. So how can people be praying for and supporting YWAM Virginia, particularly knowing that there are all these cultures that are trying to do life together?
I think they can be praying for like humble, like in both parts. Like when you are in a culture shock, like in another culture, you cannot be prideful. Like you cannot be pride at all. You know, like you always need to apologize. So I think this is like two main things that people can pray, like a humble heart and not have like a pride. You know, like pride cannot like basically exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, as we close out, is there a verse that God's been putting in your heart?
So yeah, every time that, you know, like in missions, we always have like the time that are, okay, Lord, I know why you call me, but why I'm here, you know, like sometimes you just ask, you know. And then I really love to go back when I was coming to do my DTS here. Mm-hmm. God gave me like Jeremiah 1:5. So I always go back to that, you know, like, and just remind what he put in my heart when I decide to come. Yeah. You wanted me to read?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, Jeremiah 1:5 say, I chose you before I gave you life, and before you were born, I select you to be a prophet to the nations. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I love too is it says that he chose us before he gave us life, which means he chose us before we settled into whatever culture we call our own, which means God's invitation to us goes beyond our personal cultures. And so that's a great verse. And I want to thank you for sharing, but also for being willing to step in. You left the comfort of your home to come to a new space, but now you are able to share with others who are going through that journey as well. And I think that is an encouraging thing, because the more that we press into this idea of stepping out of our own cultures and getting to know others, the more we see the fullness of who God created us to be and get a taste of heaven, like you said. So thank you so much for sharing. I want to thank all of you for listening and for journeying with us as we together as one family explore what it means to know God and make him known.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of One Family, What's God Doing? If you'd like to learn more about what God's doing in Virginia, visit us at ywamva.org and join us next week for more stories of God at work.